Greetings and welcome to the Bid Beacon and Risk-Free Item Shop Supercharge Your Auction Fundraising webinar. My name is Ian Halliday and I'm with Launch 57, the owners of the Bid Beacon silent auction platform. And we're happy to be collaborating with Risk-Free Item Shop to help our customers source more items for their auctions. I'll be your co-host today. And first off, I just want to start with a couple of housekeeping items. So today's session will be recorded and will be made available to all who registered for today's session. The recording will also be made available on the Bid Beacon website for future viewing. If you have any questions or comments, please drop them into the chat and we'll address them at the end of the session. And lastly, the discount code that we offered in the email invitation will be emailed out to all on the call today at the end of the presentation. It's now my pleasure to introduce our host and presenter, Trish Rosevere from Risk-Free Item Shop. Trish is currently the co-founder and CEO of riskfreeitemshop.com, an e-commerce shop helping nonprofits source auction items to turbo boost their event fundraisers. Trish has spent the last 10 years working exclusively in the nonprofit category, including building technology platforms to help nonprofits thrive in the challenging world of fundraising. And without further ado, I will turn it over to Trish. Take it away, Trish. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. Great to be here. Excited to be partnering with Bid Beacon, and excited to be able to talk to all of you today about how to supercharge your auction fundraiser. What do we mean when we say a supercharge? Like you see a little battery up here. It's really about making sure that you have optimized your opportunity for success when you're having an auction. And so whether it's charging your battery or, operating all cylinders, getting your ducks in a row, whatever euphemism it is that you like. Today, we just want to cover some best practices to really make sure that you've got all of the latest, greatest on how to set up your auction. And then, get into this idea of risk-free and show you this shop that's available on the Bid Beacon website platform. And really how to utilize risk-free in the right way. We'll talk about pricing and we'll talk about how to actually utilize that throughout the year. So got a lot of stuff to cover. So we're just going to go ahead and jump in. So when it comes to crafting a compelling auction, we all want to have compelling auctions. Compelling meaning memorable, something that your donors are excited to be at, that they're going to talk about afterwards. It's going to keep you top of mind. The auction is a perfect situation that taps into our human desire to compete and to win, right? So whether you're playing games with your family all the way to the Olympics, we have that natural desire. And the auction event is just a natural setup for that. But it does take some, kind of strategic thinking as to how do you really maximize that? And so the question is, how can you craft your event so that you can maximize that competitive spirit? And it is that competitive spirit that's going to help you raise more money. Our millennials and Gen Zs brought us FOMO, right? This acronym. It's not a new concept. They just put a label on it, but it's the fear of missing out. And this FOMO is what drives interest, right? Forevermore, we've known this offer ends today, get this, whatever. And people have that, I want to be part of that. And so how do you structure an event that really lends itself to, capitalize on that FOMO? And here are just three that I think are really important. The first is the timing of your event. This is something that we see where nonprofits can actually go, well, if I do an online event utilizing their fantastic, platform, I'll do it all month. And that way make sure that everybody has a chance to participate. And the question is why that long? How about really kind of bringing it down? Because what happens is things can turn into wallpaper, and especially on an online platform, it's like if you've got silent auction items and they're all there and people are kind of looking at it and they're coming in every other day and nothing's really happening, it can drive, can kind of kill that FOMO. And so that idea of and there's exceptions, but what about that idea of having it within a week's time is kind of that sweet spot that we have seen, where maybe the auction starts on a Tuesday or whatever it is, and then it ends with this in-person event over the weekend. So that's a great way to kind of just know, you've got this tight event. Offering incentives or kind of some limited perks to get people to register is another one, because if you're utilizing online, and maybe it's going to, again, lead into that in person, or maybe it's just completely virtual. How do you get people to register and really get engaged? And so, it can be anything. This is creativity is the limit of if it's an in-person event, how about a special VIP table where there's a drawing for people that register early? These little types of things are important. People go nuts when people are at a game and they throw free t-shirts out into the audience, right? And so limited, this idea of like little incentives can really make a difference to get people engaged from the get-go. Another one is releasing items throughout the week, especially on a platform. It's like if you put everything out there, it's like, I've seen it all. But if you're like, hey, come back because tomorrow we're going to release 10 more or 5 more or what it is leading up. And now if I'm a participant, I've come in, I've registered, and I get to start seeing like, oh, what's next? What's next? What's next? Even throw in some, some opportunities for them to go, well, I want that. And you might email you and say, can I buy this? I just want this. And say, yes, absolutely, because everything can be sold as multiples. So, maximize your bidding opportunity. But these are just 3 kind of like ideas to think about generating that FOMO. Another one is more of a psychological aspect, which is understanding the donor mindset. And what we've identified is that there's this kind of unspoken, right, donor bidding and buying criteria that when I come into an auction, when I'm invited to an auction, or when I go, or when I'm thinking about it, and I'm coming into this online or this in-person environment, what's in my head? So we found that there's kind of these 3 key things. One is something that they would have likely bought anyways. I'm coming in going, yeah, what gift baskets do they have? Or what gift cards do they have? Or what jewelry do they have? Or whatever. I'm going to buy this anyways. I'd love to do this within the context of this auction to support this charity. Then you have your once in a lifetime experiences. Don't even know what I'm looking for, but there might be something really cool there. And people actually look for that at these types of events, right? There's something there and I'm going to want it. And then there's those that are like, hey, I'm just looking for something that's kind of a good deal. Like if I see that, I'm going in with a bid. So these are 3 different areas that really start to play out into how you're going to select your items and how that's going to really structure your event. Including this mix of items that speak to these different bidding criteria. Now you make sure that you've got something for everybody. It's going to generate more bidding activity. It's going to generate more revenue for you and more interest, because at the end of the day, this isn't a one and done, right? You're going to have this, and then you're going to have maybe another event later in the year or next year, whatever it is. But you want people going, oh, I love their events. Like they always have really cool stuff. They have something for me. And so this is a way of ensuring that you're able to target that. So the next step then is like, okay, I understand the bidding and buying criteria. And you see that here across this bar. You've got the good deal, something they would have purchased anyways, and this once in a lifetime. When you think about sourcing items, there's really 2 channels, right? There's what I'm going to get donated, and then there's risk-free. So in the donated items, typically, we see the gift cards, gift baskets, tickets, kind of services, classes, that type of thing. Sometimes you get lucky and somebody has a villa in the south of France and you're like, that's amazing. But this is kind of that genre. And these are your bread and butter, obviously. These are the ones that it's donated to you. They've given it to you because they want you to maximize how much you can get for it. But you have the opportunity to come under that retail price so that you can get people in, right? So if you look at it, this tracks right to that good deal. The people that are coming in for that, they're going to head there. It also tracks with something they'd be likely to purchase anyways. Again, and we have pizza night, every Thursday. This gift basket's going to be perfect. I want that. I'm going to give that away, or a gift card. So this is the donated items really kind of target these 2 buying criteria. Then you've got risk-free. And this has a little bit of a different seat on the bus, if you will, and just as valuable, because something they would like to purchase anyways is going to be there. Like maybe that's jewelry. Women love to buy jewelry. Men love to buy jewelry for women, whatever it is. Maybe it's like we go to Mexico. Like we've been meaning to do that. Or, we want to take the kids or the grandkids to Disneyland, Disney World. So those become kind of like your typical, like risk-free, accessible because it's a good price point and something I would have likely bought anyway. Then you've got your once in a lifetime, right? So all these are from our shop. Down here, you've got the castle in Normandy for 10, right? You didn't come in thinking you wanted that, but oh my goodness, I can afford that. I see that. I want to bid on that. And we're taking our family and we're having a family reunion. Or it's a special memorabilia. I'm a Cowboys fan, so that's why you see Dak Prescott right there. And so maybe it's like, how do I know it's authentic? I want to collect memorabilia, but if I go on eBay, how do I know that's real? So, within the context of risk-free, you're getting the real deal. Or maybe it's driving my own NASCAR. Like who gets to do that? Where do you even find out how to do that? So these are the wow factors, the rare, the unique, the one of a kind. You can't get it in stores, exclusive kind of thing that adds that special halo actually to your entire offering. So having this mix of items, not only are you hitting this different bidding criteria, but you're kind of adding this really cool factor that you wouldn't have been able to source on your own. One of the questions that we get a lot is, okay, so how do I know how many items to utilize for risk-free? And, hopefully you have access to donated items. And if you don't, really being able to mine your database and your local businesses, because you want to have the majority of your items be donated. Again, this is your bread and butter. This is really what you want to build your auction on. Risk-free, the role of risk-free, there's two categories. And so you kind of see my triangle here. Some of your items being kind of the more accessible everyday, Disneyland, Mexico, jewelry type things, golf, whatever, risk-free items. And then a few of your items being that specialty, right? Just kind of like sprinkling that in to just kind of add that factor. And now together, you've got this really strong ratio. This really applies to your galas, to your, charity events that you're going to invite your entire database, right? The only exception to that are what I would say themed auctions. And we're going to hit that at the very end. But say there's a subset of your audience and you're going to have a Mother's Day jewelry auction. Maybe you have access to some donated jewelry and maybe you don't. And if not, you can utilize that. Or maybe it's golf, or maybe it's sports, or whatever it is. So themed auctions are for a smaller segment of your auction, of your audience. But for your majority, think about utilizing risk-free in this way. Another question that we get is, well, how many items should I even have? And this is another important question. You can see how these all just kind of build on each other, right? So you understand your bidding criteria, you understand how you're going to source them, you're going to understand kind of what that ratio is, and now really how many. And so this is just an easy formula to think about. For silent auctions, you're going to be attracting couples if you're looking at galas or charity dinner events or school auctions, that type of thing. So maybe there's about 100 people that are going to be attending. In order to find what we call bidding units, right? These are the people, like, they're going to bid from the same budget, right? So you're going to divide that number in half. So now you're at 50. These are the people that came in with a budget. And even if they're going to be doing some separate bidding here, they're actually working from the same budget. So it's important to see them as one unit. You're going to take that and you're going to go, now I'm going to divide that number by 2. Why? Because you don't want to have one item per person. If you do that, you've got way too many items. And now you're going to have low bids because there's way too many things to bid on. And so keeping that like in that tight area, it's going to net you at 25. So accounting for some individuals that are going to be coming in, 25 to 30 is just a nice spot to be able to say, this is my ratio. And you can obviously scale this up and down. Live auction items, I'm talking like auctioneer type thing, we recommend not going above 12 because you want to make sure that you keep your audience excited and engaged, whether or not they're part of that live auction. These are typically higher ticket items. So this is just a nice, again, ratio to think about. Big one, get to know your audience, but that can be hard to do. Sometimes you know a certain segment, maybe you know your major donors, but you don't always know your whole audience. And what does that look like as a whole? And so we saw that as an issue. And what we did is we were like, how do we solve this? And, thank you to AI, which can sound spooky, but it's really not. It's actually really cool. We're able to utilize that to get an aggregate overview of a donor base. So in this case, we have the Red Mill Museum, and they were like, you know what, we really want to utilize risk-free. We haven't been making as much money in the last few years, and we're really not sure why. And so the first thing we said was, you know what, do you know your audience? Here is our free donor intelligence report. And you can actually just upload your donor data. It's going to go collect all this public information on them, and it's going to bring it together, and it's going to show you who they are. Here you see an example. It's not the exact same one from this one, but here's an example of what this donor intelligence report looks like. And I will show you this when we get into the shop. It's going to give you an overview of, even their age groups and what their interests are, what their giving capacity is. And so when this particular museum ran this, they were shocked. They're like, wait a minute, I guess our audience has really changed because we've been really targeting an older audience. And they found out that everybody was pretty much under 40 years old. So not only did it help them with item selection, because then they ended up going, what are the top items that they're interested in, and travel was one of them, but they also liked cool experiences. They were one of the ones to get the hot air balloon ride and the Kentucky Derby, and they were actually did the NASCAR as well. They got like 4 of them and sold all of them, because the idea is they really hit on who their audience was. And beyond that, they actually structured the entire event around that age group. It's like having a party and going, oh, wow, you know, I'm going to play this kind of music because this is what everybody likes, and everybody gets all excited. So really, it is such a valuable tool. So they were able to actually, this is pretty amazing. The first year, they increased their net profit by 43%, and the next year it was 51%. And again, it's because they knew their audience a lot better than they did before. We'll get back to that when we look at the shop. Unlocking risk-free items. So you may have never heard of this before, or maybe you have, and you've heard it under no risk, or consignment items, or risk-free. So in our shop, we call it risk-free, but it's all the same thing. Basically, they're goods that are offered by a third party to help nonprofits specifically, to help you do 2 things: to help you raise more money and to get people excited and boost engagement at fundraising events. There are many providers out there. And so we're going to talk about like how important it is to know, and how do you know how to source them. But this concept is fantastic because you can have access to, in our case, we have vacations and experiences and jewelry, memorabilia, and you don't pay anything up front. And that's a really key thing. That's the risk-free aspect of it. And we find that the organizations who utilize our risk-free items typically raise 20% more revenue at their event. The objection that we sometimes get from nonprofits is, well, that sounds cool, but if somebody buys like, you know, a trip for $3,000 or $4,000, they're not going to be giving me that money, and they're going to think that they did. And one, we find that's actually not true. We find that households come in typically to an auction and they're like, here's our donation budget, like Raise a Paddle or Fund a Need or whatever, and here's what we're purchasing. But we always recommend, you know what? Easy to do this. In the item description, just write, this item is offered by a third party. Our organization will receive a portion of the sale proceeds, and now you're covered. Now your donor understands that you're going to benefit, but they also, if they had any question, they're going to be able to source and to be able to release the rest of those funds in a donation. So what are the benefits of risk-free? We've been kind of talking about this as we started, but just to see this in a lineup here, the idea behind it is when it's done well, you're going to have a wider variety of items that you're going to have access to. You're going to be able to get those luxury, those rare experiences and items that you typically wouldn't. You're not going to have to pay anything. You're only going to pay if the item sells. And it's going to help you raise more money. It's going to get your donors excited. And again, if it's done right, you're going to be able to save time and resources. Here is a great example that actually came from a Bid Beacon customer testimonial. Our online auction was a huge success this year. This was our 2nd year using Bid Beacon, and this time we opted for the ultimate risk-free package and an online 50-50 raffle using Raffle Rocket, which is their sister company where you can do fabulous raffles. The best part was there were no long lineups to pay at the end of the night. So yay for fabulous online platforms that Bid Beacon offers. We've also chose a couple of risk-free vacation packages, and we added them as buy now items, marked them up by $1,000, and made a huge profit. The app just keeps getting better and better. This is a really great example of how to utilize this. You can utilize risk-free in a traditional auction sense, where you're actually getting people to bid up, or doing the buy it now. But what I want to point out is that they had built in a margin for themselves, and they did the bid free and the buy now, and you can do the same thing on the auction side, and we'll talk about that when we talk about pricing. So I'm going to give you a tour of the shop. Again, this is just right on the Bid Beacon platform. So if you're on the platform, you look for manage items, and then you're going to come to this page and you're going to see visit item shop. When you click that button, it is going to take you straight into the shop. Here we are. This is the Bid Beacon. This is our collaborative site here. So the first thing you see is source best-selling items for your fundraiser, and underline there is 0 upfront costs. This is really important. You know, like I mentioned, there's a lot of different types of providers out there. How do you know who to trust and what to source. What we do is we actually go out and find the best of the best. There are probably about 10 or 11 different providers here that are represented. And what we do is source the best selling. We source the ones that have the most potential to raise you money. And they have to operate under a specific pricing structure. And that is that there's a specific charity cost, right? So if you scroll down, here's our shop, all of them, and it's an infinity scroll. You can scroll forever, or you can look at all the different categories, which is how I recommend shopping. But you're going to see a cost here. So here we have, the Baja Cabo luxury for 2 is $3,000. That is the price you're going to pay if the item sells at your auction. If it doesn't sell, no harm, no foul. Everybody moves on. You just say, we didn't sell anything. And then you go on. Doesn't cost you anything. And that's really important, because that's one of the questions that I always get is like, would we have to pay? You don't have to register for anything. You just jump on that button and it's going to take you straight here. How it works, and I'll just hit this quickly, and of course this is always here for your reference, is that you're going to act, it's like you're shopping, but you're not paying anything. So that's the fun e-commerce part of it, right? You get to put things in your cart, and then you get to check out, and you're not going to pay anything. So you do that, no payments due. Right after you check out, and I'm going to show you how this works, you're going to download the information. We call it a marketing kit, right? It's going to have photos, the details, information. In the case of travel, it'll have the winner certificate you can send out. So you're going to get access to that right away. You don't have to, contact the item provider. Like, well, where did this come from? Now I need to call them. No, we do that for you. So they're going to reach out to you in about 2 business days and go, hey, great, you chose these packages. Fantastic. Here's our agreement so that you understand this is what's going to happen. This is how, we're going to reach out to you after the event, find out what's sold. We're going to bill you, and we're going to send the items to your winners. So they're going to work with you on that. And that's actually step 3 and 4. So it's literally that easy. So I'm going to show you how the shop works. But before I do that, I want to show you the donor intelligence report. Because if you're not sure who your audience is and you're not really sure what their interests are, it's a fantastic way to source that. Remember back to that example that I showed you, that case study. So if you click on donor intelligence report right here in your navigation, it's going to show you, here it is in larger scale. I'm just going to kind of go through. There are some key areas I'm going to go through quickly here. If you look at the report, this is an example of report. Every single one is customized. It's going to be based on your donor data with a very strict privacy policy, actually SOC 2 compliance. It's the highest level compliance that you can get when it comes to data and donor information. So you're highly protected. We never see it. It goes straight to a third party, a company that actually specializes in that. And that's who we partner with. So no one's ever going to email your donors. It literally just goes there and brings this report to you. Very important. Get a lot of questions on that. Okay, so if we're looking at the report, the first area you're going to see here is financial insights, right? This is really useful because if you're thinking about like starting bids or paddle races, fund and need, that type of thing, what is their average giving capacity? What is their wealth rating? And you're able to kind of understand where your audience falls out in that. Demographics, like where they're at in, here we have the United States. So it's very United States centric. Apologies for those not in the United States, but we're working on that expansion as well. But this will show you kind of, what areas they're affiliated with. The part that excites me the most and most relevant here is donor interest. You can source relevant auction items. You're going to know what they're interested in based on these top interests. It actually goes out and aggregates and brings us top 10. In this case, we have travel, cooking, all the way to music, sports, photography, tennis. So if you see tennis is in the top 10, we've got the US Open as a package experience. Definitely throw that one in there. So you can definitely see, like, you want to be able to put domestic, international travel, and whatever jewelry or sports items. So every list is different, but this is a fantastic guide for you. So then you can take this and go shopping. Up at the top here, we have predictive analytics. So if you were to click that, the whole report's free, but if you were to click this pink button, it's going to go, we can drill down on individual donors. And this is really useful if you're like, I want to know who my major donors are. I want to know what their giving capacity is. And this isn't just historical. Most AI offerings are historical. Like, well, we know what they've done in the past. the circumstances change, especially in this crazy economy, right? So somebody may have be in a different situation than they were, either better or worse. You're able to know predictively what it is that they are going to be able to give, and what the propensity for giving is. So that's a very useful tool. And that costs you 20 cents a record. Again, you don't have to do it, but if you do want to drill down, it's there. And we get to generational breakdown. Again, this is kind of like, Gen Z all the way to the silent generation, everything in between. You're going to know who the bulk of your audience is. And final channel response. This is really cool because you want to market, you want to promote, right? But how are they going to receive that? There's so many different ways now. So from social to banner ads, direct mail. And so if someone's like, we just do direct mail, like, well, let's find out if that's actually how your donor base wants to be communicated with. And we did that for one. They actually found out that direct mail was the lowest and that they really just need to be communicating them via email. And so again, very, very helpful. To generate the report, you just click on it. And there's 3 steps here. Download our CSV template, populate that, input your name, information, these 4 boxes, and then click this button below that will change colors, upload it. It takes 5 minutes. You can then download it to your desktop, or you're going to receive an email that you can share. So just a fantastic free resource to help nonprofits, really get to know their audience more. Okay, so now we're going to go back to the shop. And if you're not really sure, you're like, let's go to tried and true. We have a best sellers category here. And so you can just kind of look through and go, okay, we know that these are really doing well. Everybody's selling them. Everything in our store is very carefully vetted, but above that, there's always the favorites. And so we're going to actually choose the beachfront Mexico trip. This is the lowest price package in the store. It's $8.95. This little thing needs to be in everybody's cart. Like, make sure if you're going to have this, have like a couple different price points. But the beachfront Mexico, this one goes sometimes for $2,250 to $3,000, just because, remember back to that bidding criteria, it's accessible. It's a great price point. It's kind of a deal. And people go to Mexico all the time. It's very, it's more of like kind of a typical offering. So it's an easy one to throw in there. Whenever you click on one of the photos, it's going to take you to this product page, right? So you're going to see all the different photos that are associated with it. You're going to see everything that's offered in it. Below that, we always have related packages that you can look at well. But to request this item, let's go ahead and put that in our cart. We're going to get a notification that it's in there. And we're like, well, are we ready to check out? Let's keep going here a little bit. What else? I saw golf. Golf is on my list on my donor intelligence report, or I know that, golf is a big deal in our world here. So again, you're going to look at this, you can request that and put them in your cart. That's as easy as it is. Like, you can see that when it's added to your cart, let's go to the next page. This is the order review page. So you can make adjustments here. If you're like, well, I'm not really sure, you can always exit out, right? But you can see that the amount due is 0 because there's no payment. What you're looking at here is the charity cost of what you will pay if it sells. So when you're ready to check out, you just press checkout. And there's only a few details that we need for checkout. So I'm just going to go ahead and go through the process here so that you can see just how easy it is. I'm going to put my name and my last name. And then company, I'm just going to put a smiley face here. You're going to put your nonprofit name, and then you're going to put Bid Beacon. Okay, because this is the platform that you utilize. You're going to click continue. And it just says, okay, we good with everything? Yes, let's place that order. So that's literally all that's involved when you're doing that. And then you're going to come to this screen. It's going to direct you right away. It says, please download your item confirmation, your marketing materials. So you see these orange little buttons here. Click download. And now you've just saved that to your desktop. Okay, so you can do that for both. You're also going to get an email. So in case you're just like, well, I didn't see that, and I just kind of bypassed the whole thing, don't worry about it. We just want to make sure that you have the information that you need right away. Because say you have an auction in like, tomorrow or tonight, you're like, I just found out about this. Can I utilize this? The answer is yes, you can. The item provider is going to come back to you in a couple of days, but you don't need to wait for them to feature this. You have all the materials that you need. And I'm actually just going to click on this PDF. So you can see that you have, this is offered by, who the item provider is. You're going to see a link. You're going to see the retail value. And on the second page, you're going to see a pricing guide. Again, if you are, purchasing this or requesting this and you're not in the United States, please make sure that you adjust that for for your particular currency. But you're going to click this link right here, and it's going to take you to the photos, the details, and you can just easily download that. So you have your marketing materials and you're ready to go. Okay. That is literally how the shop works. So now let's talk about pricing, because this is important when it comes to risk-free, that you price it according to, so one, you build a margin in for yourself. And two, you build something that people are going to want to have access to, right? They're excited. It's like, okay, I can afford this. I want to get in there. So you don't want to go too high, but you don't want to go too low. So what we say generally is this 20% plus or minus. And I'm going to explain that. So this beachfront, these are the two trips that I had chosen, right? So the Mexico trip, the charity cost is $895. The starting bid, you're going to want to put $500 on that immediately. And this is in our pricing guide. So you're going to see that. Anything under $2,500, we're like $500 or 20%, whichever is higher. So if I were to just do 20%, I wouldn't be getting to that $500 threshold here for the Mexico trip, right? So it's $2,500 and under. I know I'm going to put $500 over. And so my starting bid is going to be $1,395. We know this works. We have seen this work over and over and over again. So, really building that in. So now if you got even one person that bid on it, it's okay. You made $500. Typically, don't ignore the lower priced packages, because those are the ones that fit that good deal that's going to get a lot of people in and bidding. On this one, the Fairmont Scottsdale Golf, a little bit more expensive. So you're looking at a charity cost is $25.95. You're going to do that 20%. So now you're looking at $31.14, right? That's going to be your starting bid. So again, like either people are going to go nuts because everybody loves golf and you're going to make a lot more than that, or it's going to be the one person who bids on that and you've made that $500. But building in that margin is so important. And again, utilizing that buy it now is another fantastic way to go. We're just going to slap, $1,000 on this and they're going to buy it, or utilizing this in a raffle situation. Any of our packages work beautifully for that, right? And you can determine what that value is and how that's going to work within that context. So a lot of flexibility here. And then thinking outside the main event. That's just something of like, really trying to help nonprofits see that this is a fantastic resource year round, right? So not only for your major events, but remember I talked about those themed auctions, right? So, these are different ideas that we've seen nonprofits do with success. And one of them is maybe there's a themed virtual auction and it's vacation for a cause. And you do all your marketing and you let people know we're going to be, auctioning off or buy it now or whatever it is, vacations using our online platform. And this is a really fun way to get people like, we're going to take a vacation anyways. And now we're going to do this within the context of supporting this organization with, in this cause. The key to this one is just really either selecting and understanding who that subset is that can actually afford these trips and really promoting it. So really both of those things. The other is a Father's Day auction. This is another fun one. Maybe it's golf themed, maybe it's sports themed, and utilizing the risk-free item shop for that, or jewelry for Mother's Day is another real fun one. These are just ways to utilize this throughout the year, but it's really kind of comes down to who is your audience. Christmas time's coming up. You don't have to have an in-person event. Those takes a lot of resources. Maybe that's not something that you want to do, but you're like, you know what? I can just go on there and pick a couple of items and send an email out and go, hey, we've got some great buy it now. And when you buy this, you help us. So think about that with the holidays coming up. People are in a generous mood. They want to help you and how you can utilize that. So that's our presentation today. And would love to answer any questions if you have any, but hopefully you can see that, really kind of setting yourself up for success and really supercharging your auction with these best practices and utilizing both donated and risk-free can give you maximize your success and give you a great event.
Wow, Trish, thank you so much. That's outstanding. A lot of really, really good and really great helpful tips there as well. That's really informative. So thank you very much. We do have one question. So if I was to choose one of the risk-free items, when do I have to make payment?
Right. Okay. That's a great question. So The way that it works is that once you choose that item, we notify the item provider, right? So they reach out to you in a couple of days, and then they collect the information, I mean, in terms of when is your auction, when is it over. So it's really important to give them that information, because what they're going to do is they're going to come back to you after your event, and they're going to go, okay, how'd it go? Did you sell anything? And if you say, yes, we sold 4 packages, fantastic. That's when they're going to go, okay, great, we're going to bill you. So they're going to invoice you, you're going to pay them. And then as soon as that payment has been rendered, they're going to release that to your winners. So to answer the question, after the item provider comes back to you and you notify them that you have sold the packages, let's get this show on the road, let's get this great stuff to your winners, they'll invoice you.
And in the case of the Mexico trip, they'd invoices for the $895, right?
$895, exactly. Always that charity cost. There's no other hidden fees. So you know exactly what you are paying for.
Outstanding. Awesome. Trish, thank you so much. I don't see that we have any other questions. For those online at the moment, if there's any other thoughts or questions, please drop them in the chat. Otherwise, we will wrap it up.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Anne. And for everybody else, if you ever do have any other questions that kind of come up after the fact, you can always email us, support@riskfreeitemshop.com, and we'll be happy to help you. All right, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Trish. Thanks. Bye now.